any questions. Today I'm just going to be peeling up some potatoes that we grew this year. I've got some small ones that won't necessarily store very well, so I thought I would peel them up and turn them into home fries for the freezer. So that way they are ready to go, easy to deal with when I want some home fries. So I'm right here in front of my sink, so I'm going to peel these. I've got a bowl in the sink. We're going to peel all the skins into it, and then I'm going to actually, let's fill up this. We'll fill up this pot with some water, so that way when we peel them, we'll put them in the pot of water so they don't turn brown while we're working through all of them. So let's get this filled up. How's everybody doing this morning? It's Sunday where I live. It's gray. Week before or the week of Thanksgiving, I guess, right? So we'll get this pot filled up in the way that I did it last year. This is only the second year of doing it, but I peeled the potatoes. You blanch them in some boiling hot water. Depending on the size, I think it was 2 or 3 minutes. And then you blanch them for 2 or 3 minutes, and then you immediately take them out, put them in a bowl of ice water, and get them cooled really quickly so the cooking process stops. And then I lay them out on a cookie sheet with usually a towel underneath so they're really, really dry. Once they're dry, I'll put them in the freezer just as they are, not in bags or anything. So I'll put them in the freezer so they can get really, really cold. And that way, once they're completely frozen, I will put them in a Ziploc bag, or actually last year I vacuum sealed them, which worked really well. I just vacuum sealed them into the size or how much I think that I would need for a meal. So I'm just going to get started with peeling some potatoes. Let me bring you on down so you can see what we're doing here. So bring on over my bowl here and a potato peeler. So I'm just going to sit here and spend some time peeling some potatoes and wait for you guys all to come online, and feel free to ask any questions. Let me know if any of you guys are gardeners and what you do to help preserve your potatoes. We keep our potatoes in the basement, and they store okay, but I think it's probably just a little bit too warm down there. It's probably gets to maybe low 40s in the middle of the winter when it's really cold, but generally it's probably about 50 degrees down there. So they generally don't last all winter. Usually January, February, I'm having to pull the eyes off the potatoes because they're trying to sprout. So I like to find different ways to preserve them so we don't lose them. Come on back up here. The other way I've preserved potatoes this year was I pressure canned them for the first time this year. I peeled them, I chunked them up, and I pressure canned them. So I have pulled them out. I turned them into mashed potatoes. They were okay. They weren't great. But just putting them in a pan with some butter, that worked really, really well. They were delicious. So if you ever bought store canned potatoes, they have that same flavor. Definitely not fresh, but better than letting them go to waste. If you hear any racket in the background, I do have goats, and it is late fall time, so everybody's in heat and screaming and being pretty obnoxious. So I've probably got about 3 pounds of potatoes here. Not tons, but enough that it'd be worth preserving. We generally grow white potatoes, red potatoes, Yukon Gold. I like those ones. They're more creamy than some of the other potatoes. This year was okay for growing potatoes. It was a very dry season where I live this year. So it's hard to keep everything watered well so they didn't dry out. But we probably, conservatively, we probably grew, I would say, 60 to 80 pounds, which that's a fair amount for us. What are your different ways that you like to grow potatoes? Or not grow potatoes, sorry. Use potatoes. Definitely would take any new recipes to help keep it different and exciting. Definitely fun to learn different ways to make potatoes so you don't get bored. I'm just going to pull up the chat here, see if, keep an eye on the comments if anybody had any comments. I'm new to this live thing, so give me a minute. There we go. All right, no chats yet, so no questions to answer. So the ways that we would prepare potatoes: mashed potatoes. We would definitely like some home fries with breakfast on the weekends. So we would just dice them up, put them in a pan with some butter, some avocado oil. And then once they're cooked, I would slide some onions in there, salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder. Definitely like a little parsley in there. So that's why I thought we would take these little potatoes here today and get them all prepared, turn them into home fry size. So I'll peel this potato, this little tiny one, I'll probably cut into 4. These other bigger ones, I'll probably cut up into like 1/2-inch chunks. So that way that they're frozen, I can pull them out and pop them right in the pan. Last year I did this, but I made French fry size shaped potatoes. And I put them right into the oven frozen. And I think they came out really good. I did find that they didn't brown up as well as, a potato that you would freshly peel and turn into them. My guess is if you turned them actually into, like if you fried them and turned them into a French fry that way, they'd probably get brown or crispy. This year, maybe I will try to thaw them and then cook them. See if that way that would get them a little bit more crisp. So definitely like them crispier, but we'll eat them however they turn out. For anybody that just popped on, we are just turning our homegrown potatoes into home fries. I have a small bin here, probably 2 or 3 pounds of them, and some smaller ones. The smaller ones don't preserve as long, or don't last as long in the pantry. So I like to just take care of them before they start sprouting or before they get soft. Same thing with our onions. All the little ones I try to go through first, but those would be ones that I would peel as well, dice up, pop them in the freezer. So. And I also said, if you hear any noise in the background, we have goats, so they are in heat. We have 5 girls. We don't have a buck where we got our goats from, the original 2. We bring our goats to her and we do like driveway breedings. So that way we don't have to deal with a stinky male goat all year round. They are in the background. They are screaming, but I don't know if you'll be able to hear them or not. So I am peeling the potatoes, and as I peel them, I am popping them in some cold water there just so they don't turn brown. And then once I get them all peeled, we will cut them up, and we're going to blanch them, which blanch them means just putting them in some boiling water. Very quick. You're not cooking them, but what blanching does for veggies is I think it stops the enzyme or deactivates the enzyme that are in fresh veggies that will, as that enzyme continues to be in there, it breaks down eventually, or breaks the veggie down and makes it not store well. So the blanching process, I guess, kills that enzyme, so that way it lasts longer. Not all veggies need to be blanched to go in the freezer. Peppers, onions, those you can just cut up, dice, put in the freezer. Beans, potatoes, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, those types of things benefit from being blanched before they go in the freezer. And again, you're not cooking them, you're just popping them in the boiling water for 2-3 minutes. And then the key to blanching is as soon as that time's up, you want to pop them in some ice baths to help that to stop, because you have started cooking them, so you don't want it to obviously fully cook. So dunking them in some ice water will cool them down quickly, and you can move to the next step of drying them off really, really well. And the way that I like to make sure that all my veggies are, they don't get into big chunks when you put them in the freezer, I like to lay them on cookie sheets, and I like to lay them on cookie sheets individually, thin layer, so that way they all freeze individually, and then I can just put them in a Ziploc bag or vacuum seal them, and that way they don't all clump together. So that I like that, especially for a lot of the other veggies that I deal with. So I mostly like to freeze my produce that I buy, or I buy some of it. I mostly like to freeze most of the produce that I grow. For example, celery, onions, garlic, peppers. Those are all very, very, very convenient to, and all of those don't need to be blanched first. So those are really convenient to dice up and then pop them either in a Ziploc bag or vacuum seal into certain portion sizes that you'd want to use. Because, so for garlic, I will peel it all up. I will put it in my food processor and make little not hockey pucks, but little 2-inch pucks, 2-inch piles, and they'll freeze. So that way I can pull that out. That's 2 or 3 cloves of garlic, and then I can just pop it right in my recipe. I don't know about you, but I detest peeling garlic. So if I can dedicate an afternoon to just deal with all the garlic and have it ready for a recipe when I want it, I am more likely to use it up and not let it go to waste, because, like I said, I detest peeling garlic. So potatoes, not so much. Onions are annoying, so I try to use onions fresh as I can, even though I don't love dicing them or peeling them and dicing them up. But when it gets down towards the end of the season, if some of them start getting soft, if some of them will start sprouting, that's a great way to preserve them so they don't go bad. What else would be helpful to know? If you have any questions, definitely drop them in, let me know. And if you don't see this in live and you see it on the replay, I'm pretty sure you can comment on a replay live. But make this our last potato, and then we'll move on to the next step just so you guys can see how and what I do with the rest of them. Let me bring you down a little bit. Sorry if the angle's funny. I'm just trying not to lose you there. All right, not bad. All right, so I put them all in some really cold water. So I'm just going to drain the water out and refill it up because I peeled them, but I didn't rinse them as I was peeling them, so there are a little bit of dirt bits in there. So we will refill it with some cool water. Just gotta grab a knife. Let me turn you guys around a little bit. All right, so there's the bowl that I put all the peels that I was peeling into. And I'm just going to take the potatoes, the size that I would want to cook them in, and just give them a quick dice. Oh, I don't dice them, a quick chop, I guess. So probably like a 1/2 inch piece of potato. That's a good size for home fries for us. So I'm going to go through, dice these all up. And as I dice them up, I'm going to just put them back in the pot of water here. And once I get them all done, we'll move on to the next step. So once in a while I cut it up into a potato. There's a little colored spot that I don't want, so I'll just cut that out, but the rest of the potato is fine. What are the rest of you guys doing on this Sunday? It's a quiet day here, which is good. Oh, let me get the water boiling on the stove. It's the water, getting that to boil, because you want it to be quite a rapid boil. That does take a while. I probably should have started that already, but I didn't. Do you guys like potatoes? We do grow sweet potatoes as well. I have not tried dealing with the sweet potatoes as far as freezing them and then trying to use them. I find sweet potatoes last a really long time, so they don't tend to need anything done with. Chopping up the potatoes about a 1/2 inch size and then dropping them back in some water here. I'll bring you guys back up. If you grow a garden, what do you grow in it? If you name a veggie, we probably grow it. I grow quite a variety of things. There really is nothing better than homegrown veggies. Along with vegetables here, we grow a lot of fruit. We have a raspberry bed that we just started this year. We probably got a handful of raspberries this year, but hopefully next year we'll get more. We have 4 beds of strawberries. We have 49 blueberry bushes. We have 30 plus fruit trees, apples, peaches, pears, apricots, cherries, nectarines, plums. I think that those are all of them. And we have been putting those in over the years, so we do have some that are pretty good size, some that are still small and not really producing much. Perennial wise, we have, we also have hazelnut trees. They're not in the ground yet, they're still in pots, but hazelnuts. What else do we have? We have 4 beds of asparagus. I think that's all of our perennials. We also have currants in pots. Those have to get in the ground. Oh, we have rhubarb. I think that's all of our perennials. We live in zone 5B, 6A. So it does get cold in the winter time. I would love to be able to have like fig trees as well, but locally people haven't had great success with that unless you bring it inside, and I don't really have space inside the house to bring them inside. So I do have a little fig growing in the windowsill, but it's just tiny. I don't know if I said currant bushes. We just got those this year. We've got to find a place that we want to establish. Some place for some more bushes. What do all of you guys grow? And if you don't have all the property, things grow well in buckets. Things grow well on porches, terraces. Most things just like to grow, so give it a little time and attention. Things do well. How many of you guys live in an apartment, have a homestead, have a little garden, big garden? Let me know in the comments. We have about 3 acres here, which it's enough. We always want a little bit more, but steward well with what you have. All right, my water is almost up to temp, so in a couple of minutes I'll show you the next step. Wanted to welcome all the new members on my channel, all the new subscribers. We started this channel in January. I'm just looking to share our journey and document things that we're doing. Definitely is fun to build a community. We do live pretty rurally, but not everybody is necessarily interested in what you do. So now that we have the wonderful internet, lets us grow our community bigger. If you're just hopping on here, we are processing up some potatoes that we grew this year. I'm chopping them up into home fry size and just processing them for the freezer, so that way they don't spoil and we have quick access to some meals if we wanted some potatoes. Currently, I'm just waiting for the water to boil because we need to blanch these before we can put them in the freezer. A few more potatoes to cut up. If you have any questions, write them down below. I think if you see this on the replay, you can still leave comments or questions, so feel free. What's everybody else doing on this Sunday morning? Looks like there's one more potato to chop up. When you are blanching, for instance, potatoes here, you do want to make sure that they are similar size. Because if you had, say I was blanching a potato and I was only cutting it in half, and they would be bigger, blanch time would need to be a little bit longer. So make sure they are similar size so that way everybody gets blanched equally. All right, so I need to get some ice in a bowl. So let me get some ice. Sorry for the noise, it's gonna be loud. I've got this nice big bowl. I think it's, I don't know, 12 or 15 quarts. I forget where I found it. Oh, I think I found it at a like Ocean State, one of those types of stores. So I'm just going to put some ice in this with some cold water so that way after we're done blanching, it will, after it's done blanching, you want to cool down the veggies that you're processing really quickly. So I'm going to pop them in some ice water after they've done their 3 minutes in the water. All right, and grab a little bit more ice. All right, let's go check on our water over here, see if it's boiling well enough. Come on over, let's see if we can get you set up with a view. Our water is almost, actually our water is boiling pretty well. I'm gonna let that be just for a couple more minutes. Gonna add a little salt. Helps the water boil a little bit quicker. And also it helps salt your potatoes when you're cooking them. So here are my potatoes that I just peeled, chopped, and I put them back in some water just so they don't turn brown. So we are waiting for that water to boil just a little bit more. Once it boils, we'll pop it in the ice water. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we're just waiting for that water to finish boiling. Just checking out the chat to see if there is any questions. No questions yet, which is fine. All right, so water's pretty good. Make sure that salt is stirred up on there pretty well. So let's give that a few more minutes. And I think what I'll keep doing is just peeling up some more potatoes, getting those ready. Efficiency is key when you are trying to deal with all your produce that you grow. This week I took care of all the Brussels sprouts. I left them outside quite a while, quite a lot longer than I usually do this year, and we got quite a nice harvest, which was great. But Brussels sprouts are one of those things that you do have to blanch before you get them in the freezer. So I did the same process. Obviously, I didn't have to peel the Brussels sprouts, but took them off the stalk. And I guess I did peel them a little bit. I peeled the outside layers, anything that was dirty or didn't look the best or had some bug damage. The same thing, you had to blanch them in some boiling water into the ice water bath, and I froze them all on a cookie sheet individually. And once they're all frozen, I put them in some vacuum sealer bags, and I vacuum sealed them into what I thought would be a serving size for our family. I'm about halfway through the potatoes that I need to get through. You see this live, and if you're interested in homesteading, growing gardens, tending to animals, I would definitely love your follow or subscribe. So in the summertime, we're doing a lot of gardening. Well, in the late winter, early spring, we're doing a lot of seed starting. In the early spring, we're doing some planting. But most of the summer, we're tending to the garden and all of the things that we grow. So, and animal content sprinkled in and around that. We have 5 Nigerian dwarf goats. We have, I think, 17 or 18 chickens right now. We just lost one a couple weeks ago, so I'm not sure what number we're at. And we do have honeybees. We have 3 acres here. We're contemplating getting more livestock animals. I like the idea of getting some pigs to grow our own pork. I love lamb, so some sheep would be nice. I don't know that we would keep them full-time or if we would just buy babies in the spring and harvest in the fall. Probably same thing with pigs. I don't know if we would do breeders or not. We obviously use the bees to pollinate all of our fruit trees, all of our blueberry bushes, all of our perennials, and obviously the garden. And the lovely byproduct from them is honey. We haven't had great luck overwintering bees here. So we have had, I think this will be our 4th or 5th winter getting bees. And I think we have successfully overwintered them once, maybe twice. One of the hives we had overwintered, it was a swarm from one of our hives. And they did awesome. They did great. But they decided to swarm again in the fall. So I don't know if they found a nice warm home somewhere, but swarming in the fall is not really a great idea because they, honeybees can't take their resources with them. So hopefully they found a place to thrive. I think that was I can't remember if that was last fall or the fall before. So we currently have one hive. I didn't tend to a whole lot this summer. I just kind of let them get established. We didn't pull any honey from them. So we'll see if they last for the winter. Hopefully. We definitely had a bumper crop of pears this year. But we've definitely noticed a improvement with our fruit production with having them or having bees around to help pollinate things. We have layer chickens, so we use those for eggs. They live out their nice long life. I think our oldest ones are 5 right now. They just get to do their thing till they get old and pass away. I figure if they're pushing out an egg for me every day, every other day, they just deserve to live a nice long life. Our Nigerian dwarf, they're really pets. We do milk them though, and that's their purpose. I just recently stopped milking one of them. She had been in milk for 15 or 16 months, so I figured and her production started dropping. So I figured we would give her the winter off. We'll look to rebreed her probably next month or January for May or June babies. Well, April, May, or June. I guess it depends on how long it takes to get her pregnant. And what else do we raise? We do meat chickens in the spring, summer. So having your own homegrown chicken is absolutely delicious and amazing. I've contemplated not doing meat chickens this year, or next year, but maybe doing some turkeys. Because we've got plenty of chicken in the freezer. I buy ground turkey all the time, so I was thinking if we raise some turkeys, we could grind it up and have some ground turkey of our own in the freezer. So that's in the works, that's in the plans. We'll see what next year brings, but it was a busy summer around here. Lots of gardening, lots of produce, and trying to deal with the abundance. So now we're just picking away at dealing with some of the food that we grew. And that's what we're doing today. So just processing some potatoes for the freezer so that way they don't spoil in the basement. Because who else grows their food and has had something spoil and you just kick yourself in the butt because you've worked so hard at growing that, and then when you grow your own garden, there isn't a whole lot of financial investment once your garden's all set up, but your time has a value. So being a good steward of what you grow is important. All right, we've got our water boiling pretty well. Let's go deal with that after I peel this potato, and then I'll show you what blanching looks like. All right, come on over. All right, the water's boiling pretty well. I've got the salt in the bottom. So we are going to just pull these out. Oh, sorry, that's really loud. Drop them in the boiling water. Generally have a spoon that's a little bit bigger than this. That would work better, but I think it's in the dishwasher. Once I get these all in, we're going to put a timer off for about 3 minutes. Sorry if that scraping's loud. With what I have peeled and what I have left, I'll probably only have to have only do 2 batches here. All right, timer on the stove going on for 3 minutes. We will give it a quick stir and let them blanch for 3 minutes, which essentially just means boiling rapidly. While that's doing that, let's come on over and we'll just keep peeling potatoes. I missed one. All right, let me give a quick rinse to what I've already peeled. We'll get them in the water. Okay, let's fill that pot back up with water. And just keep on peeling. So those potatoes have 1.5 minutes left to blanch. I'll show you the next step. I'm just going to pop them in some ice water till they're completely cooled, and then we will put them on a cookie sheet that is lined with a towel, so that way they can completely dry before I put it into the freezer. If I put veggies into the freezer with moisture on them, they're going to get freezer burned really quickly. So best to make sure everything's dried off really well before putting them in the freezer to preserve them longer. So in this mix of potatoes, it looks like I have some Kenny Bunk. This one looks like a Yukon Gold. We've already gone through and processed all of our red potatoes. So anybody love peeling these little tiny ones? I don't, but if you end up saving all the little tiny ones, you definitely get several meals out of them. So, you know, obviously peeling a potato this big is much more pleasurable. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, come on over. All right, I've got the bowl of ice water here. Shut my alarm off. What we're going to do is give these a big scoop out of here, drop them in the ice water. This helps to quickly cool them down so the cooking process stops. I will keep the water boiling on the stove so that way when I've got another second batch ready, it'll already be nice and hot and then I don't have to wait for it. few more scoops, and then we will be done with this batch. Note to self, when you're doing this, get a bigger spoon. I do have a bigger spoon, but I think it's in my dishwasher, which is currently running. All right, last one in this batch. So I'm just going to take my spoon, give it a stir. Notice how most of the ice is melting, so the heat of the potatoes. So I'll pick up the potato, and if it's still a little bit warm, I'm just going to keep stirring it around so it cools down the quickest. And then if I pick them up, they're completely cool, there's no heat to them. We are going to slide on over. Turn you on around. And see if we can give you a little bit better light. Here we are. Keep these over here. All right, so I am just going to take the potatoes out of the water, and I'm going to put these on this cookie sheet. It's a cookie sheet. It's a cookie sheet that's got a metal rack on the top with a towel over the top, and that's going to allow them to dry and cool, completely dry before I put them in the freezer, so freezer burn less likely to get freezer burned. So I'm just going to use my hands instead of that spoon since my hands are bigger. And that is how easy it is to take care of your homegrown potatoes to help them last longer. So I hope you enjoyed this live and got something out of it. So I'm going to just repeat everything I just did. I won't bore you with another round, but if you see this on the replay and you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments. I check that comment section and appreciate everyone who leaves a comment. And again, if you enjoyed this and you like homesteading content and seeing funny animal stuff, feel free to subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you guys later. Thanks for watching.